What makes a good friendship? In this video, I'm going to give you 3 signs of a toxic friendship. And at the very end of the video, I'm going to tell you how you can deal with toxic people who make their way into your life. The first sign of a toxic friendship is when someone is discouraging you rather than encouraging you. One of the primary goals and benefits of a healthy friendship is encouragement. As 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 11 says, "Therefore encourage one another and build one another up, just as you are doing." So one way that you can tell whether or not this is a good friendship or a bad friendship is how you feel after you spend time with this person. Do you feel encouraged? Do you feel supported? Do you feel like you're free to actually share the dreams and the desires that God has placed on your heart? Or do you end up feeling discouraged and put down when you share something with your friends? Do they instantly list all the reasons of why that's a bad idea? Or do they instantly start talking about how you wouldn't be able to do that? You really want to be able to feel free to express yourself and let your guard down versus feeling like you need to be guarded all the time because they're about to lash out, or if you say the wrong thing, you're going to pay for it. The second sign of a toxic friendship is the friend who won't ever share their concerns for you. So this is really the opposite side of what we talked about in point 1. Not only do toxic people tear you down, they're also the type of people who will let you tear yourself down without ever sharing any of their concerns. If they are the type of person who just tell you what you want to hear, even though they can see something damaging happening in your life, that's a really toxic friendship. This type of relationship can be seen very clearly in the addiction world. People who struggle with an addiction usually surround themselves with other people who struggle with addiction, or just people who won't tell them their concerns. When someone starts doing something very self-destructive, and they don't want help, they distance themselves from those people in their life who really love them, because those people are the ones who will share concerns, and they start surrounding themselves with toxic people who won't say anything and just let them self-destruct. So again, in the recovery world of addiction and things like that, this person is often called the enabler. Usually when there's an addiction going on, there's an enabler in that person's life who's really assisting that person and being so nice that they're actually making the problem worse, which again, they're really actually putting themselves above the other person. It's not easy to confront someone in their self-destructive behavior. And when we as friends don't lovingly and humbly share our concerns for someone's self-destructive behavior, we're actually putting ourselves above that person. We don't want the discomfort. We don't want to upset that person. We don't want to lose the friendship for our sake. And so if we don't say something, that's actually a really bad sign, again, that we're putting ourselves above that person's needs. So if someone's doing that in your life, or you see that happening, that's a strong sign of a toxic friendship. It says this in Proverbs 27 verse 9. It says, "Oil and perfume make the heart glad, and the sweetness of a friend comes from his earnest counsel." It also says in Proverbs 27 verse 6, it says, "Faithful are the wounds of a friend, profuse are the kisses of an enemy." That's a really powerful verse. Faithful are the wounds of a friend. But when you have an enemy, someone negative in your life, oftentimes they shower you with kisses and you end up self-destructing. The third sign of a toxic friend is someone who only takes and they never give. So one of the core foundational elements of all healthy relationships, including friendships, is give and take. if it's just one-sided, it's really not a friendship and definitely not a healthy friendship. Again, you're supposed to be receiving in friendship and giving in friendship. So a toxic friend will only use you for what you can give them. So the person who only calls you when they need a ride or their car broke down and they're in desperate need, and then out of nowhere they give you a call. Or that person who every time you start sharing a story, they instantly one-up you and talk for 10 minutes about a story in their own life that has nothing to do with your life. So that person who consistently puts themselves above you and isn't there to give and receive is a toxic person to be around. If anyone knew about toxic friends, I would say Job might be number one on the list. In Job chapter 6, verses 14 through 17, this is what it says. It says, "Anyone who withholds kindness from a friend forsakes the fear of the Almighty. But my brothers are as unstable as intermittent streams, as the streams that flow when darkened by thawing ice and swollen with melting snow, but that stop flowing in the dry season, and in the heat vanish from their channels." So in other words, Job is saying, toxic friends, they'll be there for you when everything's okay, but then when you actually have a need and it's dry season and you'd be in need of water, for example, they're nowhere to be found and there's no water for them to give you. And so again, in summary, that friend who isn't able to give, but all they do is take from you is a toxic friend. So how should you deal with toxic people who come into your life? Believe it or not, what I'm not trying to say in this video is that you should always completely remove all toxic people from your life. Now, what I am saying is that you should not view toxic people as your friends. Rather, you should pray about whether or not God wants you to minister to that person. So you shouldn't be friends with toxic people, but you can invest in their life and see them as a ministry. So when that person is only taking and God gives you the grace to serve that person in humility, and you're willing to kind of put up with all this extra stuff because you're trying to show them the love of Christ, that's a ministry where you're giving. Now, it's not a friendship because you don't want to be receiving from a toxic person. So ministry is all about giving with expecting nothing in return. That's what Christian ministry is all about. And so it's good to minister to people, and people who are toxic and have bad character and are struggling in life to honor God need Christians in their life to be a good witness and a light to them. But you'll want to be careful that you're not filling your life with too many toxic people and taking on every single person who has a need as a ministry and completely burning yourself out and overwhelming your life with more negative people than positive, Christ-centered people. So you really need to weigh through each relationship. Many times, most times, you'll probably just have to remove that person from your life and not be friends with them. But you should have some people in your life who really struggle and you might consider toxic people, but you don't view them really as friends. You're viewing them as a ministry and you're trying to show them the love of Christ. Don't forget to tap that subscribe button if you haven't already. I would love for you to join this growing community. I try to post multiple videos every single week, all about Christian singleness, relationships, friendships, really any question that you have about real life. I try to offer a biblical perspective, so don't be shy about leaving me a question or a comment in the comment section below. Thanks so much for watching, and God bless.